everyone, and welcome to the Iron Warrior Cosplay Workshop with me, your host, Iron Warrior Cosplay. Today, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on my Korps of Krieg shoulder armor from the Kill Team box set. If you guys are watching this video, you've probably already purchased your very own copy of my Korps of Krieg shoulder armor. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for supporting me in my work. I really appreciate it. Originally, when I was doing my Korps of Krieg shoulder armor, I didn't want to do the standard ones, the two little templates on there. I wanted to do the large ones from the Kill Team box set. So I made a pattern for it from paper, laser cut mine out and put them together. Since then, people have been asking me to do a paper template for them. So here it is. If you are watching this video, you've probably already bought yourself a copy of my PDF. If not, the link is in the description. If you want to buy that, follow along with this video. I suggest watching this video once in its entirety and then follow it along as you build. So if you guys are looking for a set of Krieg shoulder armor, well, this is the place to be. My template is below, like I said just now. If you go to my Etsy, you'll be able to purchase that. And basically, it's going to be a very lengthy tutorial on how to put these shoulder armor pieces together. So if you're ready to go, then grab yourselves a cup of tea, have a seat, and enjoy this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get started. Hello everyone, so here we are again in the workshop. Now, I'm going to be showing you guys how to put the shoulders together. I'm only going to do the one because it's identical both times. So once you know how to do one, you know how to do both. The things you will need are a pen, maybe a Stanley or some craft knives or even a scalpel, some contact cement or super glue, depending on how you want to put your things together, and some templates. Hello everyone, and welcome to an additional part of the video. I have added this in at the beginning of the video because previously I was unable to actually print these out. I am now able to get a place to print these out, and I can now show you how the pattern is cut apart before you start putting it on foam. So, these are the sheets you will get. This is the Krieg shoulder pattern by Iron Warrior Cosplay. The material used is 10mm EVA foam. Currently it says 5mm. I will ask Mark to change that and we will be able to get this out to you guys. So when you receive this, it will have 10mm EVA foam on it instead of 5. So the material used is 10mm EVA foam. The pattern you will receive comes on 3 sheets like so. The top and bottom pieces are on this sheet, and the main body is separated on 2 sheets due to its size. With these 2 sheets, all you need to do is get a pair of scissors and start cutting them out. With your scissors in hand, start cutting out the template. With both the template pieces cut out, you can now start aligning them correctly. The way you do this is with these 2 center arrows, which will soon become 1 center arrow. So the way I do this is I line this up with this line and the top of the shoulder armor. That is now the size of the shoulder armor template. What you do now is tape them together, and I will show you the next step. Using a bit of masking tape or clear tape, whatever you prefer, as long as you can see through it, obviously, then tape your templates together. I tape mine front and back to give them a better chance at staying together. With that done, it is now time to cut out these 3 arrows. These 3 arrows are very important because these 3 arrows are what you're going to use to fold the template together when it's made from EVA foam. And there you have it. After you cut out your template, you'll have 3 arrows and this template. The next thing you'll need to do is to cut out these 2 templates, and it is as easy as just following the lines to cut them out. Once you've done that, you will be ready to assemble your Death Korps of Krieg shoulder armor once you've transferred these to EVA foam and cut them out. If I can now switch back to past Dovrig so that he can carry on and tell you how to actually assemble these once they are put onto EVA foam. So, with your template, you will have 3 pieces of paper to cut out, and the 3 pieces of paper will be shaped like this. The first one will be your top piece, shaped like this. The second one will be your bottom piece, shaped like this. And the bottom piece will be shaped like this. These are the 3 pieces that you will cut out of paper. You will then place these on top of your foam and trace around them with your pen before then cutting them out like this. So, with your template cut out and your foam pieces cut out, what you will need to do next is on the center template, the main body of the shoulder armor, you will need to cut out these 3 arrows on that piece of paper. There'll be some dotted lines to show you where to cut. Once you've done that, place the template back over this piece of foam and draw those 3 arrows using the template. With that done, you are now ready to cut and assemble. These shoulder pieces I've designed in the simplest way possible, and I am just genuinely really happy with how they have turned out in terms of the simplicity of putting them together. With this top piece here, when you do fold these in to actually glue them together, these 2 here will stick out a little bit and they'll need trimming. The reason I've left these in and not made them shorter is because it's easier just to cut this one circle than it is to cut here, come down, cut again, cut up. It's just easier to just cut it like this and to cut them after. So, with that being said, let's rock and roll. Get your favorite knife, your Stanley blade, whatever you prefer. I'm going to use a scalpel. The reason I'm using a scalpel is to get as close to the inside of these points on these arrows as I can. So, let's go, shall we? And there you have it. The 3 arrows are now cut out. Now, with that being done, I would not recommend immediately trying to glue these because the foam is still very stiff and it's still very flat. What you need to do here is either use a heat gun or, like I'm going to do, just using my hands, because not everybody has a heat gun, I'm going to use my hands to fold this foam to get it to start wanting to be in the shape it wants to be in. The first step for me, this is all stuff I've learned by doing mine, by the way. I've made 2 sets of these now, and this will be my 3rd set, but this time it's a tutorial. So I will roll these up. I will roll these up. Don't worry about the top parts. I'm just talking about the main body at the moment. Just roll that up. Already stands by itself, even though I know it's opening out a little bit, but it already stands by itself. You then start to fold the spikes in as much as you can. Fold them right in on themselves, and then fold the top ones in on themselves like a roll. I try to roll mine like that. I try to roll them like that if I can. This will start helping the foam to keep its shape. Now, if you've got a heat gun, you can do the same, but just using your hands also works. With these side pieces here that need to curve around more, I hold it with the curve side down, so it's like the curve is up, but the actual inner curve is down. Put your thumbs here by the dots and just fold these pieces in. So like that, just fold these two pieces in. This will help the side pieces curve in a lot more later when we start gluing. So you can already see the shape of the shoulder is already taking place. It already looks pretty damn good. Now, I have a choice of glues, contact cement or super glue. I know not a lot of people use contact cement, but you know, I use a bit of both. As of late, to get these points started in here, I use a little bit of super glue on these, and then on the middle one, I use a combination of the both. So, in terms of gluing, I will always do the two outer spikes first and glue them to the larger spikes, and then when you glue these two together, it pulls it all in together and wants to fold like inwards then, okay? Now, normally, I would tell people to bevel edges and stuff when they do this, but you'd be surprised how resilient some of this foam is, that when you glue it together, it will still want to keep its shape and it won't give you too much of a gap. Now, don't get me wrong, there will be some sanding and filling to do with these. I do sanding and filling on mine all the time, but with trying to keep the pattern and the tutorial as simple as possible, I don't bevel these edges, I just keep them perfectly straight. So, let's get gluing. All right, with the two sides here, the spikes on both sides glued, you can already see how the shape wants to start taking place. Now, with this center dart, this is where a lot of the pressure is now. Not pressure for you, pressure for the prop in general. So when you pull this together, you have to try and make sure that as you pull, you fold these two side pieces here. Make sure you fold these two pieces you've just glued. Make sure you pull them in with it. You're folding it in, but you're not just gluing this like that. You're gluing this with your thumbs here, slowly pushing the two pieces together until the tips meet, okay? Now, once you've done that, it'll pretty much set like that. Now, I'm using super glue for the two side pieces, but when it comes to this centerpiece, I feel super glue is good. I do like super glue, but I use a bit of both. I use contact cement and super glue using a two adhesive method. So the two adhesive method basically gives you a much stronger bond when it comes to pulling this centerpiece together. Because of the size of the spike and the amount of pressure that it needs to hold the whole thing together, I'd rather make sure that there's enough adhesive there that it will make an incredibly strong bond so that it doesn't pop apart at a convention. Mine haven't yet, and I haven't heard any complaints from anybody else who's actually made this, not with my pattern, but obviously, but made theirs. Not everyone has made theirs using this like spike method, but you know, it is the way of doing it. So let's get to gluing the center spike. All right, so with the contact cement from here up and from here up, I'm going to use super glue in the middle here because there's a lot of pressure there. And I'm going to add a few dots of super glue on top of the contact cement as well to get it to pull together and hold together much stronger. So if you're following along currently, we have folded the foam. We have glued these two small spikes with super glue. And we are now adding some contact cement to the center spike here, along with some super glue at the bottom to start getting it to pull together. Right now, I'm just waiting for that contact cement to get tacky. Once that contact cement gets tacky, it will be ready to glue. So, let's get gluing. And there we have it. There it is. That's pretty much the base and basic shape of your Death Korps of Krieg shoulder armor. Now, as you can see, I'm constantly folding these in to try and keep them from folding out too much, but the next piece will pretty much hold these indefinitely. So it's not a difficult bit, but it's a bit of a fiddly one. But like I said, we'll deal with that when we get to it. But right now, as you can see, the double adhesive method worked very well. I got contact cement up here, and I got super glue here, here, and here. So that's pretty much that. As you can see also, it's pretty decent and wants to keep its shape. Now, like I said at the beginning of the tutorial, do you see these two pieces here? They are sticking very proudly. All you have to do is lay this flat on the table, get your favorite knife, and slowly but surely just follow the curve around. It's such an easy cut to do. You don't have to worry one bit. It's so simple. Just follow it 2 or 3 times. Done. Once that's done, you can discard this piece. Fold the top over a little bit. And there you have it. That is one of the Krieg shoulder pieces by itself. No details or anything, but this is just as it is. Isn't it pretty? It's so simple too, and it fits onto your shoulder already pretty well. It does need a bit more shaping and stuff, obviously, but it sits on your shoulder quite well. Obviously, like I said, the sides need folding in a little bit. There's a bit of little gluing and some stuff that needs to go here, like the next piece and such. But I'm really happy with how this has turned out and how this looks. So, with that being said, we can now move on to the next step. And that is the lower support piece. All right, so with this piece here, you can see this is how it'll look to you. It'll have two angles here and a flat piece. That flat piece is what gets glued. The angled pieces stay out. So this line here, from this point here to that point there, that's your glue line, and that's what will be hidden. And this is what will be showing. So with that being said, let's get gluing. All I do with this is just add on a generous amount, not too much contact cement, but I spread it out nice and thinly. Spread it out as thin as you can. You don't need a lot of it because contact cement goes a long way. You can sort of spread it out all the way to the edges, all the way to the end. You don't, like I said, you don't need like an insane amount, like going, you know, all the way up the inside here. You just need enough here that will help hold the foam piece that you're about to glue on. So now that I've done that, that's ready to go. That's going to just sit there and dry. What you need to do now is exactly the same, but just to give you an idea, this from there to there, from that point here to that point there, this is all you need to glue, just on the one side. You leave the angled pieces out. Now I'm showing you with a ruler, just so I can show you where the glue stops and where the glue starts. So let me just put a little bit of contact cement on this. My contact cement is starting to go a little bit, unfortunately, but there's still a center pocket where it's still very liquidy and very, very good. It does dry a lot quicker in this humidity, though. I tell you, the humidity in this workshop right now is incredible. I am sweating like crazy, but it shouldn't affect the tutorial then anyway, so don't panic. So just to show you now, that's as much as you need. You don't need to go any further than that line. With that now done, you can wait for these pieces to dry. Once they're dry, you can glue them together. So let's cut to when these are dry. All right, so these two pieces are now very tacky and ready to go. The trick to this is to start off on the very edge of this piece here, on that line right there. Once you've done that, you can now slowly fold the piece over to match the curve that you want. Now, the difficult part with this is making sure that you fold the entire piece while you're gluing, because you will very much need to force the foam into shape so that it keeps the uniformity that you want for this shoulder armor. Now, doesn't that look pretty? That looks genuinely really, really tidy. So as you can see, that now is holding this. It's holding the curve. I've lined this bit up with this line and lined this bit up with this line. It is now in place and keeping that curve. Now, I do like my curve to be a bit sharper, so what I might do is just fold this over a bit harder, even though I've got that foam piece there. But believe it or not, with the glue there as well, that foam piece will actually try and keep that shape a bit better. See? So obviously there's a lot of adjustments. It is foam. You don't have to worry too much. You can fold foam quite a bit. And if the foam like bends a bit too much, or you put like a bit of a kink in it or a bit of a crimp in it, and you're like, oh no, I need to get rid of that, use a hairdryer or a heat gun. Heat guns are the best, but if you don't have a heat gun, use a hairdryer and keep it as close as you can. So with this now folded, you pretty much have your Krieg shoulder plate done. Okay, now there is one last piece to do, and that is this top piece. Now this piece goes like this, and it pretty much completes how the Krieg shoulder armor looks. Now, this is where we need to Dremel. Because of the angle of this shape and this foam being completely flat, this now sits at an angle too high. It's at too high of an angle for you to actually glue this to. There's a huge gap there and it doesn't work. What you need to do, from this first dart here to the end of this dart here, is Dremel it so that it's flat. So it's completely flat. Another way you can do it is by taking a Stanley blade and cutting it perfectly straight while the foam piece is as vertical as you can keep it. Now, I prefer to Dremel because Dremeling is just, you know, something I'm more used to. As you can see now already, the armor is already standing up by itself, which is really good. It is wider than I would prefer, so like I said, there's some folding we need to do and some heat gunning I'll probably do off screen so that I can get the shape a bit better. But there is one last step at the very end of this that we need to do to make sure that this thing keeps its shape perfectly. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my Dremel station and I'm going to Dremel this part here so that it's completely straight. Right, we are back from the Dremel station, and as you can see now, this is flat. So when I hold this like this piece here is actually now flat instead of angled. Okay, so with that now being, you know, pretty much flat, I can now glue this to that surface with no gaps, you see? So there's no gaps there now compared to what it was earlier where there was like a huge gap like this. So now you can move on to this next step. Now, with this next step, you have to make sure these are folded in a bit more. This will also help with keeping that sort of level, if you will. So the trick to this, and by the way, this can be this way or that way. It's entirely up to you. There's no problem with that. This is pretty easy to install because all you have to do is make sure that on the inside that this bottom lip here is in line with the inside of that. These two pieces here will fall exactly where they need to go, but this top piece here has to sit exactly where it is, right on this edge here. So this piece here, this here, has to sit on that edge there perfectly. That way you get the shoulder look that you want, okay? So I'm going to use super glue for this because I start in the middle. Now what I do is I will line this up and make sure it's exactly where I want it, and I will just put a dot of super glue there and glue this on right on that dot there and wait for it to dry. Wait for it to dry, sorry. Once that's dried, I will then check the edges and glue the edges next. So now that that's glued on, I will now check the edges. You can see already that these are already too wide for these pieces. So the next job now is to keep this as straight as you can. Put a dot of super glue right on the very bottom end. Fold this in and glue that exactly where you want it. This will help with the bending process. This will help with keeping its shape. See, it already sits a lot nicer compared to this side. So this side again, same again, put a dot of super glue exactly where that piece is meant to go and hold this down and wait for it to dry. Now that that's dried, you can have a look at your work before completing the gluing. You have got yourself a Death Korps of Krieg shoulder plate. So, what we do now is just push in the shoulder piece to line it up as best as you can. And all you have to do now is just open this out and glue along the edge of the foam armor. Just glue along the edge on the inside or the outside. I do a bit of both. Line it up, make sure it's all lined up perfectly, and give it a squeeze and let it dry. Nice. Same goes for this side. Luckily you're working with foam, so it bends really nicely, so you don't have to panic too much. Push this down. Missed a little bit there, put a bit more super glue in there. There we go. I do use my finger a little bit to get rid of the excess. You might not want to because you get like glue on the end of your fingers, but it doesn't matter. So with that being said, I just go around and check one last time. Missed a little bit here. Push that together. And then go around and just pull it back a little bit. And anything that separates, like here for example, right down the side here. Anything that separates, give it some glue and push it together. Give that a second to dry. Put the lid back on. So normally I use just contact cement for all of this, but my contact cement has started to unfortunately dry a little bit, so it's not holding as strongly as it normally does. But then this tin is almost empty, so I'll probably just pick up another tin and just, you know, use that instead for the next build. But I will be building another one of these as well off camera. I'll just be building the second one. That second one then I'll have side by side, take some pictures, paint them and everything, and get that done. An additional step you can do, and I haven't included this in the pattern because it's not a step you necessarily have to do. I tend to get some 5mm foam, and like I said, this is just, you know, something I do to sort of help with the, you know, keeping in of the sides. I will place this piece of foam in line with the edge here, like make sure it's like make sure it's not like at an angle or anything. Keep that in line there. I will glue this there, and as you can see, the gap here is greater than the gap here. What I do then is I will pull this foam inwards and then glue that there. This will then keep the shape of that shoulder piece. Now you do not have to do this. This is a completely like random additional extra piece that I glue in. I don't do it to all of them. I've done it to my ones because I put Velcro on mine, so I needed something for the Velcro to attach to. But that piece is entirely up to you. But if you don't, just literally fold them in a little bit like that, and there you go. It literally keeps its shape. So you can see there, that is the Death Korps of Krieg shoulder pattern. Now, the very last thing to do, if you've used super glue or contact cement or anything, doesn't matter what glue you've used except for hot glue, don't do this if you've used hot glue. I take my sponge and I will give the surface a rub where the points are. This is just a very low grit sanding sponge, and I will buff the surface like that. It gets rid of all the burrs from the dremeling. It gets rid of random bits of glue you may have left on there, like I did just now. And you can do it on the back side of this. You can do it on the edges. I just use it to get rid of the burrs and sort of make it look a bit prettier. Give that a fold in. And there you have it. Your very own Death Korps of Krieg shoulder armor. Now, there are additional things you can do with this armor now that you've got it. When I seal it with Thompson's 10-year roof sealer, I give it a texture to make it look like metal. But before I do that as well, sometimes you may want to add some details. For example, you could add 3 rivets to the top here, one in the middle, one there, one there. I use the lines to line them up. And then you can add an additional 2 down here. There's a bit of extra detail, you know? A bit of like extra detailing. Sort of give it a bit more character. Make it look a bit more, you know, in lore, that kind of thing. I have hex ones on my Krieg armor that I've laser etched the L'Aquillas into. Once you've done this, you will have a blank shoulder armor to then paint whatever regiment number, logos, the Aquila, whatever you'd like to do. Obviously, you've got a left shoulder and a right shoulder. On the inside of mine, I've actually got left and right written on mine because, you know, I keep forgetting which side goes where. But other than that, this is how your Death Korps of Krieg shoulder armor should come together. And I'm very happy with how this looks. All I need to do with this now is a light bit of sanding, again, with my sanding sponge. Then no filling. I don't have to fill this at all. It is as smooth as silk. What I'll do then is I will use Thompson's 10-year roof sealer over it. I will then make sure that this gets a nice texture. Once that's done, I prime it with black and spray it with whatever color I want. You can do green. I've done a green set of these. I've done a silver set. I've done 2 silver sets. I've actually done, do you know, I've just realized I've done 3 sets of these. 1 for me and 2 for some friends of mine. And this one is actually the 4th set that I have made of this particular armor set, which is kind of cool. So this is the 4th set I've done. Now, believe it or not, I don't need another set of Krieg shoulder pauldrons. It's just not something I need right now. So these will actually be going up on my Etsy as well. So if you guys are watching this video and you haven't been to my Etsy yet, unless you already have bought the pattern, you actually might see a set of these up there for grabs, the actual set I'm making in this very tutorial. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It has been a lot of fun to make. It's been a long time coming, I know, and I do apologize. It has been a lot of fun to make. It's been a long time coming, but I am genuinely over the moon with how these look. If you guys liked this tutorial, please like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it. I know it's like really cringe to say those things now, but it really does help. Show me the support that you guys really enjoy my tutorials and stuff. It really means a lot. Put a comment, you know, tell me how easy the tutorial was. Tell me how much you've enjoyed building yours. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you want to show me your shoulder armor that you've done using my pattern, please jump over to my Instagram or my Facebook page and send me a DM. Show me what you've done. Go to my Discord, go into the 40K channel and show me that you've made the either the gas mask or this shoulder armor from my patterns. I'd really appreciate it because I'm going to do another album showing people making the armor pattern for my Death Korps of Krieg. So I really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know I have. I'm really, really excited to see what you guys think. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my night by building another one of these. Once I've done that, I'm pretty much going to head into the house and edit this video. So thank you so much for coming. I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.